moment I walked into the house that evening, I knew something was wrong. The air felt heavy, and my wife, Sarah, avoided my gaze. Our daughter, Emily, was unusually quiet, her eyes glued to her phone as though it held the answers to the universe. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice steady, but the tension already brewing. Sarah shrugged. "Nothing, just a long day." I might have believed her if it weren't for the slight tremor in her hand as she set the coffee mug on the counter. Suspicion gnawed at me, but I brushed it aside. We'd been married for 20 years, and I trusted her, until I found the first message. A week later, while cleaning out the car, I stumbled across her phone, left unlocked and open to a text conversation. The words burned into my mind. "Last night was amazing. Can't wait to see you again." The world seemed to tilt, and I gripped the door for balance. This couldn't be happening. Sarah wasn't just my wife. She was my best friend, my partner, the mother of my child. That night, I confronted her. At first, she denied it. Then came the excuses. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. It just happened. The most painful part wasn't her betrayal, but the way Emily defended her. "Dad, it was an accident," Emily said, her voice trembling but firm. "Mom made a mistake. Are you seriously going to destroy our family over one mistake?" Her words cut deeper than Sarah's betrayal. I realized that Emily, my own daughter, had known all along. She had hidden it, lied to my face, and sided with her mother. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own daughter, Emily, was standing in front of me, shielding her mother from the consequences of her betrayal. "Emily," I said, trying to keep my voice calm, "do you even realize what you're saying? Your mother cheated on me, on us. This isn't just about her. It's about the trust that holds a family together. And you knew?" Emily crossed her arms, her defiance blazing. "Yes, I knew. But it's not like it's the end of the world. Families go through stuff like this. If you loved Mom, you'd forgive her." "If I loved her?" I repeated, the words choking me. "I gave her everything, Emily. My trust, my loyalty, my life. She threw it away for what? A few stolen moments? And you—" My voice broke as I looked at her. "You hid it from me. Do you understand what that means?" Emily's face hardened. "It means I was protecting our family. What do you want me to do? Hand her over to you so you can tear us apart?" The room fell silent, except for the pounding of my heart. Sarah sat quietly, tears streaming down her face, but she said nothing to defend herself. "Emily," I finally said, my voice steady now, "you're choosing to protect a lie over the truth. You're siding with someone who betrayed us both. Is that what family means to you?" Her lip quivered, but then she shouted, "If you break up our family over this, you're not my dad anymore." Those words struck me like a dagger. I stared at her, at the child I had raised, loved, and sacrificed for, and saw nothing but a stranger. "Fine," I said, the pain in my chest turning cold. "If that's how you feel, I won't stand in your way. But I won't stay in a family built on lies and betrayal." I walked out that night. 5 years passed. The pain of that night still lingered, but I had rebuilt my life, piece by piece. The divorce had been messy, as expected. Sarah fought for everything she could, and Emily stayed by her side throughout, refusing to speak to me. I accepted it. Losing them both hurt, but I couldn't live a lie, no matter how much it cost me. I moved to a quieter town, started fresh, and focused on myself. For the first time in years, I felt at peace, until one crisp autumn morning when a knock at the door shattered that calm. Standing there, looking sheepish but determined, was Emily. She was older now, a young woman instead of the teenager I had left behind. "Dad," she said softly, her voice trembling. "Can we talk?" I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Talk? After 5 years of silence? You made it pretty clear I wasn't your father anymore." She flinched, guilt flickering in her eyes. I know. I was wrong. But I need your help. I need money for college. Mom can't afford it, and I raised a hand, cutting her off. Stop. You're here because you need money? Her cheeks flushed, but she nodded. Yes. I need you, Dad. I wouldn't have come otherwise. The bitterness that had simmered for years bubbled to the surface. I reached into a nearby drawer and pulled out a small voice recorder. Emily's brow furrowed as I handed it to her and pressed play. Her own voice filled the room, angry and defiant. If you break up our family over this, you're not my dad anymore. Her face paled as the memory washed over her. Dad, I held up a hand again. You made your choice that night, Emily. You said I wasn't your dad anymore. I respected that. So now, when you need something, go ask your mom. Tears welled up in her eyes, and for a moment, I saw the little girl I used to love more than anything. But the damage was done. Goodbye, Emily, I said, shutting the door. As I leaned against it, I felt a strange mix of pain and closure. Some choices, I realized, come with consequences that can't be undone. For a moment, there was silence on the other side of the door. I thought she might have left, but then I heard a muffled sob. Emily was still there, crying softly. I hesitated, my hand resting on the doorknob. I wanted to open it, to hold her, to tell her everything would be okay. But I couldn't. Not after what she had done. Not after she had chosen lies and betrayal over truth and loyalty. Dad, please, she said, her voice trembling through the door. I was just a kid back then. I didn't understand. I thought I was doing the right thing. Can't we talk? Please. Her words tugged at my heart, but the wounds from that night were too deep. I had spent years trying to heal, trying to move on. Letting her back in now would only reopen old scars. Emily, I said through the door, my voice steady but heavy with emotion. You made it clear how you felt back then, and I made my peace with it. I'm sorry, but I can't be the person you turn to anymore. Another sob broke through the silence. Then I heard her footsteps retreating down the porch. I stood there for a long time, staring at the door, my mind racing with memories of the past. The little girl who used to run to me with scraped knees, the teenager who defended her mother's betrayal, the young woman who had just walked away, defeated. I felt an ache in my chest, a hollow space where the love for my daughter used to be. But alongside that ache was something else. Relief. Relief that I had stood my ground, that I hadn't let guilt or nostalgia pull me back into the chaos I had left behind. As I sat down at the kitchen table, I realized something profound. Love doesn't mean sacrificing your dignity or enduring betrayal. Sometimes love means letting go, even when it breaks your heart. Months passed after that encounter, and life settled back into its quiet rhythm. I tried not to think about Emily too often, but every now and then, memories of her standing at my doorstep would creep in. I wondered how she was doing, if she had managed to sort out her life. One day, as I was sorting through some old boxes in the attic, I came across a photo album. Flipping through the pages, I saw pictures of Emily as a child. Her first day of school, her birthday parties, family vacations. The memories were bittersweet, a reminder of what we had lost. But as I stared at those photos, I felt a strange sense of peace. I had done what I needed to do for my own sanity and self-respect. And while it hurt, I knew it was the right decision. Meanwhile, Emily was struggling. After leaving my house, she had gone back to her mother, hoping for support. But Sarah's financial situation hadn't improved, and the burden of her past decisions weighed heavily on her. Emily tried to make ends meet, working part-time jobs and applying for scholarships. But no matter how hard she worked, the guilt of what she had done and what she had lost haunted her. She began to realize the depth of her betrayal and how it had severed a bond she once took for granted. One evening, Emily sat in her small apartment, scrolling through her phone. She saw a picture of a father and daughter at a graduation ceremony, smiling and holding hands. Her chest tightened as she thought about what could have been if she had made different choices. With trembling fingers, she opened her laptop and began typing. Dear Dad, I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I need to say this. I'm sorry. The email arrived on a quiet Sunday morning. I almost ignored it, assuming it was another promotion or spam message, but the subject line caught my eye. I'm sorry, Dad. My heart sank as I opened it. The words were simple but heartfelt. Dear Dad, I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I need to say this. I'm sorry. I've spent the past few months thinking about what I said to you that night and how I treated you. I was wrong. So wrong. I thought I was protecting Mom, but in doing so, I hurt you in ways I can't even imagine. I took you for granted, and I betrayed the love and trust you gave me. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I hope one day you'll believe how much I regret everything. I'm trying to turn my life around, but I know I can't do that without at least trying to make things right with you. Even if you don't respond, please know I'm truly sorry. Love, Emily. I read the email twice, then a third time. Her words stirred something inside me, a mix of sadness, anger, and a flicker of hope. For days, I debated whether to respond. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to protect myself from the possibility of more pain. But another part, the part that still remembered her as my little girl, wanted to give her a chance. Finally, I decided. I sat down at my desk and began typing. Emily, thank you for your email. I can see you've put a lot of thought into your words, and I appreciate the effort. I won't lie. What happened all those years ago hurt me deeply. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. But I also know that holding on to resentment will only keep us both stuck in the past. If you're truly serious about making amends, I'm willing to talk. But this time, it has to be honest, with no excuses or justifications. I'll give you the chance to explain, and I'll listen. What happens after that, we'll figure out together. Take care, Dad. Emily responded quickly, and we agreed to meet for coffee at a small cafe in town. As I waited for her, I felt a mix of apprehension and anticipation. When she walked in, I barely recognized her. She looked older, more mature, and there was a weight in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Hi, Dad, she said softly as she sat down. Hi, Emily. For the first time in years, we began to talk, not as a father and daughter divided by betrayal, but as two people trying to rebuild something broken. As Emily sat across from me at the cafe, there was an awkward silence. She stirred her coffee nervously, her hands trembling slightly. For the first time, I saw not just my daughter, but a young woman carrying the weight of her choices. Thank you for agreeing to meet me, she said, breaking the silence. Her voice was quiet, almost hesitant, as if she expected me to walk out at any moment. I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. You said you wanted to explain. I'm here to listen. She swallowed hard, her gaze dropping to the table. I don't even know where to start. I've thought about this moment for so long, but now that I'm here, She trailed off, taking a deep breath. Start with the truth, I said firmly. No excuses, no justifications. Just tell me why. Emily looked up, her eyes glistening. I thought I was protecting Mom. I didn't want our family to fall apart, and I was scared. Scared that if you found out, everything would change. And it did, but not in the way I thought. I didn't realize how much I was hurting you by keeping her secret. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I see now how wrong I was. Her voice broke, and she wiped at her eyes. When I said you weren't my dad anymore, I didn't mean it. I was angry, confused, and trying to hold on to something that was already gone. But I never stopped needing you. I just didn't know how to fix what I broke. Her words hung in the air, heavy with emotion. I looked at her, trying to reconcile the teenager who had betrayed me with the woman sitting before me now. Emily, I said slowly, what you did hurt more than I can put into words. It wasn't just about what your mother did. It was about you choosing to side with her lies over the truth. You weren't just my daughter. You were someone I thought I could always trust. Losing that broke me. She nodded, her face crumpling. I know, and I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed you to know how sorry I am. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it up to you if you'll let me. For a moment, I said nothing, letting her words sink in. Then I reached out and placed my hand over hers. Emily, rebuilding trust takes time. I can't promise it'll be easy, but I'm willing to try, if you are. Tears streamed down her face as she nodded. I'll do whatever it takes, Dad. The conversation didn't fix everything, but it was a start. We talked for hours, sharing stories, regrets, and hopes for the future. For the first time in years, I felt a glimmer of the bond we once had. As we left the cafe, Emily hugged me tightly. Thank you, she whispered, for giving me another chance. I held her close, feeling a cautious sense of hope. Let's take it one step at a time, I said. Over the next several months, Emily and I began the slow, delicate process of rebuilding our relationship. It wasn't easy. Trust, once shattered, doesn't mend overnight. There were moments of tension, of awkward silences and lingering hurt. But there were also moments of connection, small victories that reminded me why I had loved being her father in the first place. Emily worked hard to prove she was serious about making amends. She shared more about her struggles over the past 5 years, the hardships she faced without my support, and how those experiences had forced her to mature. One evening, as we sat on the porch of my house, she turned to me and said, Dad, I know I don't deserve it, but thank you for giving me another chance. I can't change the past, but I'll spend my life trying to be someone you can be proud of. I looked at her, the woman she had become, and felt a warmth I hadn't felt in years. Emily, I said, you're my daughter. No matter what's happened, that will never change. I'm proud of you for owning your mistakes and working to make things right. That's all I've ever wanted. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sunset. For the first time in years, I felt at peace. Life isn't a fairy tale. Not all wounds heal completely, and some scars remain. But reconciliation is a choice, a commitment to move forward despite the pain of the past. Emily and I didn't go back to the way things were. We couldn't. Instead, we built something new. And while it wasn't perfect, it was real, honest, and strong enough to withstand the weight of our history. As for Sarah, she remained a distant figure in my life. Emily and I agreed to leave that chapter in the past where it belonged. Looking back, I realized that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to let go of the anger and pain to make space for something better. And sometimes that choice is the greatest gift you can give, to yourself and to those you love. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so and press the notification bell. This way, you'll stay updated with more shocking real-life stories.